By the time you're seeing this, Baker Mayfield could very well be a Carolina Panther. This, according to multiple reports from CBS Sports, confirming that the Panthers have particular urgency, that's the quote, urgency, to finalize a deal for the former number one overall pick in the 2018 draft, Baker Mayfield. We're not going to go over everything that's going on in Cleveland, the mess that quarterback situation is currently with them signing Deshaun Watson and Baker being on the outs. What I will comment on is that Baker leaving Cleveland is a guarantee. Whether it was by trade or release was the only question. And now it looks like the Carolina Panthers at least have a high level of urgency, a high level of certainty that they want to get Baker Mayfield. The main issue that remains, though, in them acquiring Baker Mayfield is the salary. How much or how little they want to pay him. That's the big question. We know that the Carolina Panthers drafted Matt Corral in the 2022 NFL draft. They have Sam Darnold, a draft classmate of Baker Mayfield, believe it or not. Think about it like this. First two quarterbacks of the 2018 NFL draft, both of them, bada bing, bada boom, being on the same team just a few years later. And one of them being the guy who, say what you want about Baker Mayfield, he has not been great throughout his entire tenure in Cleveland. But two things he's done that no other person that has done at the Browns quarterback since probably Bernie Kosar was rejuvenate and re-energize that team. Because he was, at least his first few years there, he was the unquestioned leader of that football team. He might have lost it. He might have lost the respect of some people in the locker room over time. But there's no question that, especially when he came in, it was different. It was 100% different when he came to Cleveland initially after the 2018 draft. That first season, the second he took over, the Browns took off. Now, have there been bumps along the way? Of course. Also, his play, say what you want, it's been good. Baker Mayfield is definitely a good quarterback. He's better than Sam Darnold, yes. Is he better than Matt Corral? Right now, I take Baker Mayfield over Matt Corral. Right now. That doesn't mean Corral can't develop into something else. But the Panthers wanting him is something that I honestly did not expect, because I felt like you already had a guy in Sam Darnold kind of filling that role as the starter until he loses his job. Baker Mayfield, I think, obviously he's a step up from Sam Darnold, but is he going to be the long-term answer for Carolina? I guess we're about to find out. Them having Corral on the roster does mean I think Mayfield would have a shorter leash than usual, because let's be honest, they spent a third-round pick on that guy. And they're about to spend what is likely going to be not a third-round pick on Baker Mayfield. If Baker goes for a second or a third, I'll be very shocked. Even a fourth, I think, is the top end you would be willing to draft or pay a draft pick for Baker Mayfield. I think he honestly just goes for a fifth or a sixth, because the market for Mayfield is dwindling, and with the amount of money you might have to end up paying him, the incentive isn't there, and the Browns obviously just want to offload him because they've moved on to Deshaun Watson, even though there's no guarantee that Watson's going to play next year or beyond. But it's interesting. David Tepper has been very desperate to get a guy at quarterback, the owner of the Carolina Panthers. He's always wanted that guy ever since Cam Newton left. He's always wanted that guy. Darnold wasn't the guy. Bridgewater wasn't the guy. Could Mayfield be that guy? He very well could be. The biggest question, the biggest mark, the biggest problem that remains with Baker Mayfield and having him on your football team is, will he ever prove that he is good enough to get that top quarterback money? I'm not even talking Baker Mayfield, unless he balls out, has a 40 touchdown season, right? Balls out completely. Then he could be worthy of top quarterback money. But right now, is Baker Mayfield a guy who you can give $30 million to a year? I don't know. Is he a guy you can give $25 million to? Sure, I guess, in the right situation. Is he a guy you can give $20 million to? I think that's the top line. That for a guy like Baker Mayfield, that's basically the market, $20 million. Anything beyond that, I think it is yeah, I don't know. Um, Although the Carolina Panthers don't seem to think so because David Tepper said he will not pay for all of Baker Mayfield's $18 million salary in 2022. So I guess that's what they're working on between the Browns and the Carolina Panthers. Either way, for Carolina, this is essentially going to be a rental unless they decide that Baker Mayfield is the guy. Um, there's a lot of things to be worked out, but Mayfield as a starter in Carolina, it's interesting. It's interesting what Baker. I think Baker could do with a fresh start. One thing that I think Baker does need to work on, and I understand he's got a chip on his shoulder, and deservedly so. He was a guy who nobody had pegged as being the number one overall pick just a year before the 2018 draft. He was a guy who brought the Browns back to relevancy. Say what you want. It was Baker Mayfield. At the end of the day, it was Baker Mayfield who rejuvenated any semblance of hope that franchise had. It started with Baker Mayfield. He wasn't the only part of it, but he was the Kickstarter, and he energized the playoff win, which, say what you want, no other guy since the Browns came back in 2000 or 1999, no other guy's done it. All right? Tim Couch tried, he failed. Brian Hoyer tried, he failed. Johnny Money Manziel tried, he failed. Baker did it. So we'll see what happens. And again, I'm not a huge fanboy, quote unquote, for Baker Mayfield. He's prone to bake them apple turnovers as he's down to do. But him in Carolina would be interesting. You know, DJ Moore is a really good receiver. You got Robbie Anderson. You got Run CMC. If Baker is willing to work with his teammates a little more, and then especially more than he did in Cleveland, I think that this could be dangerous for the Carolina Panthers because they got a good team. They got a good coach. They can make some noise in that NFC South, but we'll have to see what happens. Let me know what you guys think of Baker Mayfield going to the Carolina Panthers in the comment section below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.